Welcome to This Justin, the show bringing you the latest advancements in healthcare, strategy, innovation, and public policy. And now, for the fastest voice in healthcare, here's your host, Justin Barnes.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the special edition of This Justin Radio. I'm your host, Justin Barnes. Today, we're broadcasting live from HIMSS25 in sunny Las Vegas. Very excited to be here. It's already been an action-packed 72 hours. The HIMSS annual conference is always a centerpiece of my annual schedule, and this happens to be my 25th HIMSS annual conference and my 11th year broadcasting from the annual conference, which leads us to today. This is the start of 3 days, 5 shows, and over 40 guests here in Las Vegas for HIMSS25. We have our best lineup yet of CEOs, CIOs, CTOs, care providers, researchers, policy leaders, and visionaries joining the show. As many of you know, my goal for broadcasting live each year from these key conferences is to create an information medium that shares best practices, key strategies, and actionable intelligence from the industry's leading sources and experts. My objective, along with all my guests here, will be to offer tactics and strategies to not only survive, but to thrive as you navigate your hospital, your physician practice, your company, or even your family through all these changes occurring across healthcare today. There is more opportunity than ever before for all of us to thrive, but we must understand how healthcare is evolving, how policy and reimbursement is shifting, and where best practices and innovation can support our efforts. I hope you glean all of this over the next few days. That's at least my goal. Welcome back to This Justin Radio Show, broadcasting live from HIMSS25 in sunny Las Vegas. I'm very excited to introduce my next guest and great friend of the show, Erik Pupo, Director, Commercial Health IT Advisory, Guidehouse. Welcome back to the show, my friend.
Thanks, Justin. It's been a little bit of time.
It has, yeah, a couple of weeks. Well, I did tell, I'm actually going to talk to the organizers of both of these events. We can't change anything for 2026, but we're going to push them out. We're going to spread them out for 2027 and 2028. These back-to-back shows have just been.
Much better weather here, though.
Yeah,
so that's
oh
good.
My gosh, yeah. We all dealt with a lot of snow and ice and trying to get out of town. I assume it's been a couple. When did you get in town, first of all?
I actually got in on Monday.
Okay.
I decided to come in a little later, spend a little less time at HIMSS. Just make it more productive with a lot of meetings with customers and partners. I think that you can get a lot of value out of the conference just from that particular aspect.
Absolutely.
Customers and partners primarily because there's so many vendors here today.
Yeah, absolutely. Does Guidehouse have any big events we should talk about, mention?
We have a couple. So one is we're sponsoring the Bluebird Health IT Fireside Chat today.
Real quickly, what is that? I see
It's
Bluebird.
a great organization, nonprofit within the health IT community.
Okay.
Sponsors in terms of women executive leadership throughout healthcare, health IT.
Okay.
So Rebecca Woods, Sarah Richardson, others have really put that organization together as a way to promote women in health IT leaders.
Okay.
We're a big fan of that.
Yes, absolutely.
In terms of our organization, but also just in terms of number of hospital leaders we work with.
Well, I'm glad we brought. I see it advertised. I've seen it marketed a little bit, but I didn't know exactly what it was about. So I'm glad we had a chance to talk about it.
Great group.
Thank you. So, what progress are you most excited about seeing in the industry right now?
I really want to come and see just where we've gone from AI pilots, where we've gone from some of the vendor promises last year, into what are some of those results this year. So an interesting presentation this morning that I went to with one of our customers, UVA Health, just talking about a great idea that they have for what they call an AI survey, where you actually start to see, okay, what are these outcomes that we're achieving with our use of AI? Whether it's models, whether it's different applications, chatbots, even some of the agentic AI work that's now going on. Give us an actual ROI, give us an actual kind of survey model that we can use to test out. Okay, what did it actually produce?
Right.
Beyond just the financial aspect of that. So that's one of my main interest areas is just with AI, with cyber, with some of the other things that we do in data. What are the actual results we're starting to see out in the field?
Is there something that you heard this morning that you remember to put you on the spot a little bit? Because that's exactly what the show, we've been talking about that. We're turning the corner here to real tangible ROI, real tangible results. Certainly when you get down to care, we love the financial aspect, but when you actually can change a patient's life, you can change the trajectory of their care protocols or treatment protocols or their quality of life in general. Anything like that?
Well, just don't be afraid to fail. You know, if you feel like as an AI application, or an AI idea that you have that might be able to move forward and achieve some level of an ROI or result, do it. Because what we've seen is like 4 or 5 different health systems that have had failures recently in terms of projects they funded, didn't work. But what was interesting is there were several of them that it was like you had 4 or 5 that didn't work, and then you had one that actually worked and made an impact, where it's driving better quality measurement, where it's driving actual clinical outcomes for patients, better patient access, better patient registration, check-in experience. that's what you want to see. You know,
Love
if
it.
you're going to spend maybe 5-6x times money that you might have planned to spend, but you're getting an actual real output and result, it's at least something you could measure and achieve against. And I think that's really what we're looking at here is what are the examples of results of that beyond just the demos you'll see at the booths.
Right. What are you currently working on that you're most passionate about at Guidehouse?
Recently, we're actually working a lot more with different organizations across the scale of healthcare, with post-acute care, community healthcare organizations, on AI, on cybersecurity. Those aren't going to be as big in terms of large deals or large projects so much, but it's an interesting way to really get into the actual weeds, into the field, and kind of challenge in terms of how AI operates, how cybersecurity operates, where you actually get a chance to see, you know, on the ground where you can make impacts, which affect communities a little different. Elder care, we're working a lot more in children's health. We're doing a lot more work with public health care organizations, state-level organizations that do interoperability. And those are examples where it's a lot different than the bigger health systems where you can kind of see they've got a lot of money to spend. Right. This, you got to be really careful. You got to make sure it works. You got to make sure that you have a good plan, strategy, governance in place. So I'm really passionate about those recently because we're getting a lot more traction there as well across our customer base at Guidehouse beyond what we normally see.
Congratulations there. I like that. That's awesome. What are some of the goals that you have for HIMSS25? You talk about obviously some partner stuff and certainly some learning, but what do you hope to accomplish over the next couple of days?
I think it's just catch up with people. It's like, again, 2 weeks ago, you know, again, a lot of the same people. But a lot of the newer people that didn't go to Vive as much. I'm really interested in meeting with new partners. So we're spending a lot of time here with newer partners.
Excellent.
We have partners we work with now, like AWS, Cloud Adhesive, Ambience Healthcare, others that we are spending time with while we're here that we already work with. But I'd say about 50% of the meetings we have right now are definitely going to be with newer partners. Where we're actually spending time 15, 20, 30 minutes, talk about what a solution might look like for us. We're an advisory firm, so we want to spend a lot more time, you know, understanding what different vendor products are out there. So it's an opportunity for us to do that here at HIMSS.
So are there a couple partners here that you're most excited about? I know you guys work with a lot of people, but is there 2, 3, 4 companies that you...
Right now, one is we're meeting with Solventum today, spin out of 3M. They're doing a lot of work in data analytics, AI platform overall. Want to see what we can do with that platform beyond what we've seen before with partners like Arcadia or Lomaris, something that might be a little more robust for us across different areas beyond, for us at least, it's a lot of healthcare system, hospital clients. So how can we use platforms that might be used in other areas like life sciences and bring that into the hospital health system area that we work in? Okay, excellent. Looking out over the next, I guess, couple of years, I know this. I mean, it's hard to project out with certainly how fast Gen AI is going. But if you look out the next couple of years, is there a key strategy or trend that we need to be ready to navigate? In your opinion, I just think it's really just ROI. And I know you've talked about it on this show a lot. I know a lot of your guests. I know I listen to a lot of the podcasts myself. Just talk about it, and you think like, oh, we're talking about the same thing over and over again. Well, there's a reason for that. I mean, I think 2-3 years from now, you're going to see some level of industry consolidation, obviously across technology, but some of this will not be here. And some of these projects we talk about and some of these tools and these vendors we talk about will not be here. And it's just because one of the things we do at Guidehouse, we deal a lot with the financial operational side of health systems, hospitals. It's not an unlimited fountain of money. We just had a customer today that said, we're going to pause and basically not proceed forward with work in interoperability and work with data just because of what's going on in Washington, D.C., and what's going on in the national kind of environment overall.
Concerned about that for sure,
So you've got to do more with less. It's a common saying we hear a lot. You actually, now you're going to have to do it.
It's real.
I think over the next 2 years, you're going to have to do that, where you're going to have to buckle down and really look at, okay, how are we going to deliver ROI faster? But also, how are we going to measure it better, where even if it's not a tangential, or I'm sorry, a tangible measure for financial or operational performance, something people can see and touch. A great thing that I heard from UVA today is give us a story beyond just a number. You know, what is the story behind that actually is going to be something that people are going to latch onto and want to proceed with.
And actually AWS brought that up this morning. Actually, Hugh Rivers was on here, and he basically talked about how we are going to have to do more with less in the industry. And so, but also, and Rasu actually brought it up as well, just talk about how we have a chance to see this as a positive, see this as a, hey, we have to hunker down. We have to make sure that we are running in the right direction with our organization. We're setting up several times this morning already in my shows, my guests brought up how they have to ensure that they are up. They can't afford downtime. They have to make sure the systems are integrated. This is going to push us to be better.
Yeah.
So, and then Rasu actually challenged. I said, hey, and I'll ask you the same thing: is if you could challenge your industry at something, what would that be? And so he actually challenged. He said, "Yeah, I want to see people do more with less, be more efficient." He talked about the IRB. They have 74 different campuses or hospitals, part of their advocate network, but they have one IRB to make it simpler, better for patients, better for the physicians. But just do more with less. And so I think I would say ask you the same question. What would you challenge the industry at right now?
I think we really need to collaborate to do that.
That's excellent.
Partnerships work very well in that type of environment where you have to work together. Even companies that you might look at and say, hey, we don't normally do that. Whether it's these, we've seen it with like AI, for example. There's been AI organizations that have been built, like Valid AI is an example, with a trust that is very passionate about AI. And what he's actually doing is he's actually going out and he's actually partnering different health systems, different AI vendors together to work in the market and to validate solutions in AI. I think we're going to have to do that across all our health systems.
Right.
If we're going to make impacts with that more with less model, you're going to have to think about, okay, how am I going to fund something? How am I going to bring something to the market? How am I going to be able to implement and execute on something within a health system? With other partners and not just do it myself.
Right.
The money isn't unlimited, but also the time isn't really unlimited either.
That's the
The
most valuable thing in the world is your time.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. And there's so much going on in IT right now. We deal with it every day with our IT customers right now of, hey, I don't have time to listen to 50, 100 vendors. I need pitches that are very crisp, clear. You know, if it's 3, 4 vendors that are working together, I can latch onto that if they're getting results across other health systems. But I'm not going to listen to 50, especially those who maybe not are in the healthcare industry now, or maybe just have point solutions that really don't want to hear about.
Right. So I'll put you in the spot in the last minute that we have. Is there a customer or two that you're excited about? I mean, obviously you're excited about all your customers, but is there something big projects that you guys are underway, or some big customers out there say, hey, they're going to make a big difference this year in 2025 or even in going into 2026?
I would say, one of the ones that we work with a lot, examples like UAB Health is a big customer for us, is because they do a lot of work where we go in, we do a lot of revenue cycle optimization, we do a lot of Epic modernization projects, and they're like, we want to take the next step beyond that. So like, let's go from just another modernization, or they kind of roll their eyes when we say transformation, and let's do something a little more out there, a little more on the edge, where we can actually start to work more with agentic AI, and we can start to work more with interoperability and data lake houses. And these are a lot of technical terms, but for them, the way they look at it is, get me something that's going to be out there a year from now that's maybe 3-5 years ahead of the industry, and invest in that. And I like projects like that. You just do projects where it's an IT strategy. That's one thing where it's just a piece of paper. But when you're actually out there and you're building strategies that are 3-5 years ahead, you're actually looking. And we have another customer. I can't really talk about them now. But we have another customer that's like, I just want to know in terms of AI strategy where I need to be 5 years from now, so I can start to fund that and execute on that now. And that's what you want to work with.
Absolutely.
Health systems that are thinking like that.
That's a lot of fun. I mean, even that 5 years is a long projection in healthcare.
It is. But the way they look at it is, we're not going to maybe see impacts from AI right away. But what are we going to see maybe 2-3 years from now? Something that's sustainable that we can fund a little further.
Love it. Erik Pupo, Guidehouse, thank you so much for joining the show.
Thank you very much.
And have a great rest of your conference.
You too.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it, man. Awesome.
Good
thank
to see you.
Welcome back to This Justin Radio Show, broadcasting live from HIMSS25 in sunny Las Vegas. I'm very excited to introduce my next guest and new friend of the show, but a longtime friend of mine, Hugh Rivers, Director, Head of Sales, U.S. Provider Segment Healthcare, Life Sciences, AWS. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Justin, amazing. I can't believe it's been like years and years, and then you're finally invited me to the show.
It happened to work out. You're a busy man.
That costs a lot of money.
Well, you're a busy man. You're all around jetting around the world, and
we're do what we can.
I'm trying to nail you down here. It's great. We got you here in Las Vegas live. I assume it's been a few great days for you.
Yeah, we've been here since Sunday. Customer meetings, partner meetings. I mean, it's been great. The show's good. I think we got really, really good feedback so far, and I think this show in particular, we just came off of Vive 2 weeks ago, but this feels really, really, really good, and I think everybody's excited about the possibilities for the year.
Yeah, your team did a great job. AWS in general has done a phenomenal job. I was giving Dr. Davison, Ashwini, some props where the tent that you guys bring, the opportunity that you bring to so many, just in the big tent that AWS has, the collaborators, the leaders, the partners, the innovation that you guys foster is unparalleled. And so that's kind of what I love to see. I was actually part of a phenomenal dinner that Dr. Davison led last night with Dr. Tarago, and it was around the cancer and what we're doing to, with Gen AI in cancer and bring these organizations together. Phenomenal. Just the thought leadership and the opportunity that came from that alone, and how actually we're able to move the needle, and even in that dinner, I'm bringing people together. And again, that was all under the tent of AWS. So I just want to thank you very much for all you guys do for industry and for our healthcare system.
And we appreciate it. And of course, props to the team for our Best in Class Cloud Award.
Well, that's huge, yeah. So actually, when you landed, so when we were at the airport, and that was actually up in the background at our dinner last night, but you kind of, even my team, Jake, was taking pictures, because all around you would see, even at the airport, even when you walk into the Venetian, the Palazzo, it's best in class for public cloud in 2025, Amazon Web Services. I mean, tell us a little bit about that. That's awesome.
Well, look, I've been here 2 years. This week coming up, it feels like it's been 2 months. So props to the team.
Yeah.
They've been working on this, healthcare cloud for 4, 5, 6 years, right? Working with customers, working with partners. So we're just incredibly proud around the fact that we were able to get, and this is the first award that we've ever had, right?
Well, KLAS is the pinnacle award in healthcare.
Absolutely. So we're just excited, and as everybody knows, right, it's really all based on customer feedback.
Absolutely.
And the thing that I'm the most proud of at the end of the day, again, props to the team, right? We just have to sell it, right? They have to build it, so they make it easy. But not only did we do a really much better job in terms of overall product, but the thing that I think we were most proud of is customer satisfaction and customer obsession, which, as you all know, at Amazon is our number one leadership principle.
Absolutely.
Was materially better than our competitors. So super excited about that, and it's nice to be able to have somebody else brag for us.
Yeah, well, that's the ultimate recognition, just so you know.
Absolutely.
Having that KLAS award. Best public cloud. So what progress, so dive into the questions a little bit, what progress are you most excited about seeing in the industry right now?
Well, let me tell you, I think at the end of the day, we're focused on a lot of different things, right? As we have focus on Gen AI and data. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Obviously focusing on, customer and patient member centricity. But I think the thing that I'm the most excited about is the fact that, from my perspective, you can't really run healthcare if you don't have a good security strategy, right? And I think you know better than anybody, right? The cyber attacks are up 128%. They cost $32 million on average, right? The average ransomware is $5 to $9 million.
You got it.
So, even Epic, as you know, right? They recommended that they need to have a third immutable copy, right? Called an isolated recovery environment.
Yeah, an IRE, you got it.
So, the most important thing that we're working on right now is, let's just shore up, right, and eliminate this ransomware issue. I just think at the end of the day, it's becoming best practice to have a third copy.
Absolutely.
And you cannot just have disaster recovery. Right. So we're working very closely with Epic, working very closely with the other EHRs to just try to work with our customers to shore up and make sure that you have uptime and reliability, because you can't, ultimately, if you don't have access to your systems, you can't deliver patient care. So the fact that that's actually coming to the forefront is actually, I think, very unique, and we're seeing a lot of activity. It's also, easy when Epic says, "Hey, go ahead and do this."
Yes, at their UGM, their user group meeting, they said that, from stage.
So right now we're having conversations with most of the Epic customers, right, and then just saying, "Hey, how can we shore up? How can we help you?" And we're excited about helping them solve that issue.
Yeah, man, I think the latest stat, I think it was published in December, $1.9 million per day a health system loses if they're under some type of a cyber threat or cyber attack, or, if they go down, basically.
Yeah, and I think the answer, Justin, it's easy, right? You can work with us, you can work with some of our partners, we can get you up and running quickly, very cost effective. It doesn't have to be an issue. And I think, anybody that's responsible needs to be thinking about, okay, what am I going to do, right? Not if I get attacked, but when I get attacked, right? So shoring that up. And then, of course, that allows for a good baseline for everything else you want to do from a clinical and operational perspective.
Yeah, and I don't want to mention too much, but I've been able to be in the room with some of your team members, and you guys are working on some really cool strategies when it comes to basically customer uptime and basically guaranteeing uptime. But then also, even if there's an outage in an area in our community, being able to come in there in almost an emergency way and make sure your organization stays going. Again, if you're running, you can lose $1.9 million a day or $2 million a day. Uptime is critically important, not only because of finances, but obviously in clinical care. And as I learned in some of the meetings recently with your team, you may only have the only hospital in the community. There may be one hospital that serves the entire community.
Exactly.
If that hospital goes down, that community doesn't have any care.
Absolutely.
That's a significant difference. The $1.9 million is understandable, and that is terrible. However, if someone can't get the right care that they need in a community, and you guys can kind of just drop in and make sure they have full uptime, 100% uptime, that's significant. So we're going to be talking about that probably later on in the year, because you got some really big stuff coming out, but I love the innovation that I see coming from AWS. So what are some of your goals, here while you're at the conference?
Well, look, HIMSS is always a great opportunity for us to really just, it's very basic. It's going to sound cheesy, but we're here to listen.
Yep.
Right?
There you go.
I'm on the road just like you are pretty much every week with customers, but this is a great time to go listen to what's happening, right? Talk to our customers, talk to our partners, and really just get a real-time tempo of what's actually happening. Obviously, you can probably imagine we've heard the word Gen AI 17,000 times, right?
Well, we're hearing it in all now, not only the Gen AI, but now what it's bringing to healthcare, what is actually how it's solving problems. That's exciting. So yes.
Yeah, exactly. So the technology, I think, incredibly quickly has moved from, okay, this is just an enabling technology. So now look, we have Ambient Listen, which started. Now you have real clinical workloads, right? With real return on investment.
Yep.
You have partners that are embedding everything into it. So it's startling how fast the innovation is happening, right?
Absolutely.
And how quickly the use cases are actually becoming real.
Yep.
Even a year ago, right? A year and a half ago when the first, ChatGPT and OpenAI came out. So we're just excited about it. I can't imagine, what it's going to look like 3 years from now.
Right.
So,
well, we'll talk about that next, actually. But what's Hugh Rivers personally working on right now that you're most passionate about?
Well, look, I think if you understand AWS and Amazon, right, we're very focused on the customer, very focused on the patient and the member.
Yep.
We work backwards, right, from that. That's our core leadership principle. What I think we're the most excited about is the fact that, especially in this environment right now with everything that's going on in Washington, so everything that's happening, uncertainty with funding and all those other components, we feel like we're in a very unique position, especially for our medium-sized customers, to be able to help them.
I love that.
Nobody knows better than you, Justin, all the issues that our community and rural hospitals have around funding and, hey, do I need to get acquired? Do I need to sell off this piece of business? Do I need to have M&A?
Yep.
Right? I think with this, with everything that's happening with the funding, it's a good opportunity to actually, it's a compelling event for them to actually think about, hey, should I be moving some of this stuff off to the cloud, right? Yeah. Can I move something? Is it core competency? So we have the ability, we have the desire, and I think we have the funding to be able to help it make it easy. Yeah. Right? So then that way, if 3 or 4, 5 years down the road, you have uncertainty in the political space or something else.
That's right.
Then you're no longer kind of beholden, right, to kind of a more of archaic, traditional style of IT. So I think that the biggest thing for us is being able to help our customers just work through those issues. And helping them transition, right? And again, we're not suggesting you have to move to the cloud immediately, right? You can move some of your applications, maybe start with different projects, move to a hybrid cloud. Yeah. But I think every customer should definitely be thinking about, how do I make sure that I'm more flexible and I'm not beholden to what's potentially happening from a funding perspective.
Right. And also, in looking out over your strategy, I can guarantee political uncertainty in 3 to 4 years from now.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's guaranteed here in America, but also globally. So as a CIO, as a CTO, even as a CEO and CFO, they should be looking that direction as well. As to your point is, how can we mitigate risk for our organization? Right. How can we ensure continuity of care? Critically important. I guess, we talk about the finances certainly a lot, because money, at the end of the day, drives a lot of stuff. However, at the end of the day, it's also continuity of care. And like I said, I think talking to some of your team members even last week in a strategy session, looking out over how some of these, again, I brought it before, these care centers may be the only ones for 100 miles.
Yeah, from a rural perspective, I mean, you're going to have healthcare drought at that point in time if you have an issue there.
I think it's 90+% of Americans live in that type of an ecosystem.
Yeah.
90%.
Exactly.
So that's So what I look forward to those types of growing strategies and solving for those problems. And again, make sure that you have the continuity there, the business continuity, the care continuity, critically important. And the closing couple minutes, getting to almost the proverbial crystal ball.
Yeah.
Look into the future. What do you see as a strategy or a trend that we must really navigate from now? I know it's hard because things move, certainly with Gen AI, move so fast. What are some thoughts there?
Well, listen, I think the thing that's the most interesting to me, and I'm able to get a sneak peek of all the innovation that we're doing in AWS. I'm sure, same thing at Microsoft, same thing at Google, same thing at all of our vendors, right? What is amazing to me, Justin, is the speed of innovation. I've never seen anything like this, right?
Yeah.
So I still remember in 1995 when I saw the internet for the first time, didn't know what it was. Remember the dial-up?
Of course.
Right.
Oh yeah,
so
dial modem.
Me, this is simple. This is the next, internet moment.
Yep.
My children will not know anything, but for us, the ability to innovate, and then the agents, right, that are coming.
Absolutely.
And then now you have Gentral AI. I envision a situation where in 2 or 3 years, which I didn't really envision this, I think probably more in 5 to 10 years before, where you have a fully personalized, right, agent, right?
Absolutely.
That you could actually, that knows exactly everything about your profile, knows everything about your care, right? Is either fully automated or is an assistant to a doctor.
Yeah.
And literally in the last 2 days, right, since we've been here, we've seen just amazing things. And I think it's unbelievable. I think the pace of innovation, I'll be honest with you, it's almost a little bit scary sometimes, right? But it's really unbelievable because I've never seen innovation like this.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately it's going to come down to, and we at Amazon, obviously we're well known for a fantastic retail experience, but there's no reason that we cannot have with this type of technology an Amazon-like retail experience for a patient, provider, or clinician. So I'm just excited about it, and potentially be a part of it. But it is very complicated. The engineers are very smart.
Yeah. Well, no, and I love what you said. I actually completely believe in that agent. I'm actually looking forward to having my full care strategy, my full care plan, my genome, everything sequenced even in front of me. So actually, I know exactly the best care, my best treatment plan. It's not a whim. It's not a half thought by a provider. But I know my care. Still always seek care from my provider. But now we're gonna have everything right in front of us at our fingertips. That's gonna make a huge difference. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, and I think the thing that we're asking with our clients is we want work with us. Let's figure out a small proof of concept, right?
Yep.
And then dip your toe.
You got it.
I know it's a big thought, and I know you got a lot of other things that you got to work on. But I mean, if you're not thinking about some sort of a Gen AI or next generation strategy, I think it's going to be a competitive differentiator. You need to get ahead of it. So we're excited. That's one of the things that gets me all excited. And I see even over the last 12 months, even the smaller, medium-sized hospitals definitely dipping their toe.
They are.
Hugh Rivers, we're excited about that.
Thank you so much, my friend. You're awesome. Great to have you on air for the first time. We're going to do it again soon, my friend.
All right. Justin, thanks
Thank
again.
you, brother. You got it, brother. Thank you, man.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Thank you. That's a wrap from Las Vegas and HIMSS25. Thank you all for listening. Thanks to everyone who voted us 2024 Healthcare Podcast of the Year. Thank you so much, Roberta Mullen, Greg Masters, Carol Flagg, and the entire crew at the Healthcare Now Radio Network. They've also been producing my show for 11 years. Also, a special note of thanks to Jake Reed, my head of media, and certainly a big thank you to Hal Wolf, Albie Zakes, Morgan Searles, the entire HIMSS team. They're always extremely supportive in the events and broadcasting requirements that I have. And again, thank you so much to all my listeners. We're grateful for you. You make us better with every broadcast. And that's a wrap from Las Vegas. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.